Memphis and W253DF Memphis, Flynn Broadcasting Stations.
It's time for Wolo and Friends on Sports 56, presented by Genesis of Olive Branch. Here is your host, the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
That's a sigh of relief. You might not have been able to hear that over the intro. Because you know why? I really did not think the Tigers would remain in the top 25. I was fearful they would slip out. So I wouldn't see the scores on the ESPN crawl, because that got to be top 25 for your scores to consistently make it. I think it's the best PR tool that there is. And even though they had that great run, the 10 in a row, the 15-2 start, the best since '87, those two losses, and really the USF loss, because no one would be talking about the Tulane loss if the Tigers had beaten USF, which they should have. They gave that game away. But then you compound that with losing the 7-point lead and Penny bringing up chemistry issues, and neither of these teams were net high, right? Thinking, some people, even Gary Parrish, he perished the Tigers. Knocked them out of the whole top 25 and won. They weren't even 26 in his poll. And at one point, they were in the, I want to say they were like top 8 in his poll. So 10-19, 12-22 in the USA Today coaches poll. Honestly, I'll take it. Now you got a game where you got a whole week to prepare for. And you're going down to UAB, which, by the way, I'm told is a sellout. Biggest crowd they've had into New Orleans this year, it was for Memphis. I think they had a decent crowd for FAU. It's only Avern Fogelman Arena at Devlin Fieldhouse. I think that's how it's pronounced. It only seats 4,000, so a sellout is not a big deal, right? I mean, if there were 4,000 people who showed up at a Tiger game at FedEx Forum, they'd be going, what a terrible crowd. Nobody likes Memphis anymore. But it is a sellout. It was. And I want to say, can you look real quick, Zach Boyd, and check to see how big Bartow Arena is? It's somewhere 8 to 10, I would bet. I hope that as many people, because there were 2,000 or 3,000 that, or I shouldn't say 2 or 3, 1 or 2,000 that showed up and were a part of it. I'd say 30 to 40% of that crowd on Sunday was Memphis fans wearing blue. What have we got here? How many, Zach?
8,500.
8,500? Okay.
Yeah.
It rocks with 8,500 in it. If it's sold out, that'll be a great crowd. Now, how many will be Memphians? I don't know, because I know some people are doing it. They're just going up and back day of game. You can do that. Heck, it's 3 hours down 65. It's all highway now. All highway. I remember when you used to have to take 78 and you had to go through little towns, like 5-hour ride. Seriously. Now you can do it. Straight shot, 3 hours. It's pretty easy. But anyway, so Tigers still in the polls. There's a big sigh of relief for me anyway. The Grizzlies get a win across the border. And they I think that is their third in a row. No, 4 straight in Toronto over the Raptors, 108-100. Triple J has become, obviously, the main guy with everybody else out, and he's coming through. 16 of 27 points in the first quarter. He also had 6 steals all in the first quarter. I can't remember a guy getting 6 steals in 1 quarter. That has to be some sort of record. I don't know if it is, because there was a big night for records. We'll get to that in a second. Luke Kennard has sort of a different role. He's becoming more like a point guard. He had 7 assists. I know that's a Grizzly high for him. I think that might be a career high, 7 assists for him, because let's face it, he's a shooter. He had 19. That was his best this year. Vince Williams had his first double-double, 18 and 10. Santi Aldama had 10 and then left with a sore knee. I wonder, have we got any word on Santi Aldama yet? We'll probably get that later in the afternoon. Could you imagine if he's out too? What would that be like? The 8th guy? Crazy. I don't know what is going on with injuries and the Grizzlies. We'll have to wait and see on that. The Grizz, this is crazy. The Grizzlies are actually 500 on the road. They are 12 and 12. The team that last year went 35 and 6 at FedEx Forum, 35 and 6, is now 4 and 15 at home. How does that happen? How could you go 500 on the road and you're 11 games under 500 at home? That is bizarre to me. Maybe it's, the level of competition you're playing at this point on the road, it all evens out. Maybe it's the timing of the injury. I don't know, but it's crazy. Here's the best thing. 30 assists. Third time this year they had 30 assists in a game. I think they've won every time they've had 30 assists. I love the way they share the ball. Conchar had 5 blocks in the game. That's crazy. Roddy was, he is. I think he clearly, of all these Laravie and all these guys, he's the one guy that to me is a rotation player. Now, I'm not saying he's any higher than 8 or 9, but I think he's a rotation player on most teams. The way he uses his body and doesn't need a lot of minutes. He's always productive when he's in there. He's a team guy. He plays a little out of control every once in a while, but I don't know. Roddy was helpful, and they played 10 guys last night. So you imagine playing 10 guys and you're missing your best 7? That's crazy, but it is what it is. It was a nutty night in the NBA last night. Joel Embiid, and I do want to give a program note. I should have mentioned this when I was talking polls. Mike DeCourcy on college basketball. That comes your way in about a minute and a half. So I know Zach Boyd's going to get a hold of him here momentarily. And then Jeff Moore on the NFL will be at the bottom of the hour. Last night, Joel Embiid broke a franchise record, which is hard to believe because the Philadelphia 76ers had Wilt Chamberlain. But when Wilt Chamberlain scored his 100 points, apparently he wasn't a 76er. When he was a 76er, he had 70 points in a game. Embiid had 72. So that broke the record in a 133-123 win over the woeful San Antonio Spurs. He also had 18 rebounds and 5 assists. So listen to this. Joel Embiid has now started this year. He's got a total of 1,156 points in 1,096 minutes. Over a point a minute. There's only one player that ever did that in an entire NBA season, and that player has already been talked about. That is Wilt Chamberlain. Embiid is he's certainly got to be the leader in the still not in the clubhouse for the NBA MVP for this year. And then Karl Anthony Towns also set a franchise record, broke his own personal record. Used to be 60, it's 62. He had 44 in the first half, but then did not have a good fourth quarter, 2 of 10. His coach, Chris Finch, who may be the coach of the year, at least a halfway mark, he's my coach of the year. Chris Finch was livid at the end of the game, blasting his team for an immature performance with defense and also still going to Towns when he was cooled off. He said, at some point, you got to run plays. I know you go to the hot guy, but he wasn't a hot guy anymore. Interesting stuff, to say the least. I'm sitting in the Family Leisure Studios, and a reminder, the floor model sale, it's going on at I-40 and Whidden Road, where you can get floor model patio sets that are priced to move. You can get a closeout on cushions, those little pillowy cushions that are so comfortable. They're as low as $25. Pool tables, state-of-the-art, under $1,500. 4-person hot tubs, $5,000. And the steam saunas that are really cool. This is an interesting thing. The traditional steam, they got 25% off, but they got this new thing, the infrared saunas. That's 25% off. Just get to I-40 and Whidden Road. Family Leisure, where the floor model sale is coming together. And you know our title sponsor? That's Genesis of Olive Branch, right there at the corner of Highway 78, Lamar. And the very first exit in Mississippi is Craft Road. Turn left and go see Chris True and all the gang, but really go see Vinny. Vinny Gerard is the guy that is over the SUVs, and he's talking GV70, GV80. These are the SUVs that are the luxury cars that have the luxury ride. Here's the thing about a lot of SUVs. I love them. I love sitting high. I love the power that they have. But they not always have the luxury that you would get with a sedan, not with these Genesis cars. Go see Vinny. That's Genesis of Olive Branch. To Indianapolis, we shall go. Let's talk a little bit about the new poll that's out. Memphis stayed in. Are you surprised at that? And explain to me, didn't Kentucky and North Carolina play? And I know you can't always just look at head-to-head, but, I mean, they played head-to-head. Kentucky beat them. Why is North Carolina over them? Good morning, Mike DeCourcy.
Well, because you can't always look at head-to-head. So I will say that I have actually two seed lines at this point between the Tar Heels and the Wildcats. UNC is a 1 and Kentucky is a 3, and it comes down to it's not a one-night deal. You right now, at this point, it's a 2-month and 1-week deal, and it will be eventually a 4-month deal, and so it all counts. And if it's really close, and then there's a tiebreaker, yeah, go with especially since it was on a neutral floor, go with the head-to-head. But at this point, there's an edge to Carolina and what they've done, and we'll see what Carolina doesn't have a bad loss like UNC Wilmington. I mean, a home loss to Wilmington is not a good loss for a team at that level. A team you're talking about in the top 5, top 7 teams in the country. Carolina doesn't have a loss like that. Carolina's losses are all to heavyweights, and they're not, and good for them, I guess. There aren't any heavyweights in the league in the ACC except maybe Duke, so they're not going to have to face a lot of those between now and March.
Well, and I'm going to go back to a point you made. I think last week or maybe the week before about the fact that there's just not a lot of great play or really great teams. Here Duke lost at home to Pittsburgh, for goodness sake. Kansas lost, albeit on the road. I think the net at the time was 167 on West Virginia. So everybody is losing. Memphis dropped. I promise you, I thought they would be out of the poll.
I did too.
2 losses. They are in at 19 and 22 in the coaches. Where have they dropped from a 2 seed at one time in the Fox bracketology, which is really Mike DeCourcy? By the way, I was looking at Fox FS1 the other day, and your name is on the crawl. I was so proud for you. I love it when you get that kind of pub. Anyway, where have you dropped my Tigers?
Well, your Tigers were a 5 on Friday, which was the most recent. The next one will go up within a few hours, and they will not be a 5. Let's just put it that way.
If you drop me to 6, I'm okay. I like 6. 6 is like 3.
I'm not going to drop you,
except for
I'm
the
not,
first.
I'm not going to drop you that much more than that. Let's just put it.
Very
I'm not
good.
Giving away, not giving away the ending of the picture, but
Jerry Palm has it at 7. Which I don't want 7. I like 6 because I think 6, other than the first game, is a 3. Give it to me.
Yeah, well, I mean, the problem is that the Tigers have the ability to be higher than that, and they haven't executed in the last couple of games. Really disappointing execution, especially defensively. The game against USF, doubling a corner to leave a wide open guy to go down the lane. Where does that come from? I mean, what is that?
Well, then the next game, the same guy who's the best scorer on the team, who is in the top 25 wooden final, he goes for a steal and leaves a man wide open in the corner, and the kid hits the bucket that puts Tulane ahead for good. Yeah,
they can't play in this many close games if that's how they're going to execute. And then I think it was the South Florida game that Javon, who's made some great late shots, but we know he had the problem at Ole Miss, and then he goes down the lane, and everybody on the floor thinks he's taking the shot, including all 4 of his teammates, and he decides to kick it out to nobody.
Right.
You can't they shouldn't be in this many close games. They are better than the teams they're playing against. Look, I watch a lot of basketball. They have better talent than a lot of the teams that are more esteemed than the Tigers. So if you're going to play yourself into these many close games, you've got to execute better down the stretch, or just don't get into them. Execute better the rest of the game, and then you don't have to worry about it.
Your point is well taken, and their defense, particularly on threes, has been atrocious. I'll give them a little bit of a break at Tulane that nobody. I think maybe some of the voters knew this, and that's why they didn't drop him out. But obviously, you've lost Caleb Mills. He's gone. He was your best perimeter defender.
That's a big miss. It is.
All right, so then Walton gets hurt in the first half, does not play the entire second half. And then Nicholas is what he wants to be called. Nicholas Jourdain got sick on the way to the arena. He'd been sick the whole time, didn't practice, literally vomited in the bus on the way down there. He was not himself. He was terrible in that game. And Tomlin got hurt in the first half. He said he couldn't see, so his minutes were limited. And a kid named Jonathan Pierre, who could have been hasn't played very much, but this was the perfect kind of game for him. He's 6'8", he's athletic, he can shoot threes. He might have been good in this game. He's not a great defender, but he was unavailable because he was sick. So they were really down some weapons in this game. And I hate to say it, but Quinterly, who you just mentioned, I mean, he's really a good player, but he's just not a consistent guy. You mentioned the bad turnover in the USF game. He also, he's taken shots to win games and made them, but at Ole Miss, he missed a wide open kid. Ashton Hardaway with a three that could have won the game. He took a contested shot in the game against USF after he's hit a couple, let's be honest, but he took that shot. He really did not have his eyes open. Maybe he was screened. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt, but Nick Jourdain was at the elbow wide open. Had he thrown him the ball, I think he had an uncontested dunk to win the game. So he missed that pass, and then 6 turnovers in the game the other day. If Quinterly does not play well, Memphis is not an elite team. If he does, they have a chance.
Yes, all true. If you look at the stats for the Tulane game, you look at the box, and you're like, how did they lose this game?
Yeah.
And then, you watch, and it plays out, but then you look at the stats afterward, and you're like, where is the L? And I think that one of the areas that you mentioned, the 6 turnovers from your star point guard, that's one of the areas where you can say, okay, I can see that. That's a red flag on the box score. But for the most part, they did a lot of good things, but they just couldn't get a W.
I read your story on storming the courts. I watched Caitlin Clark get knocked to the ground by some lady who just wasn't watching what she was doing.
She was looking at her phone. She was like doing a selfie video or whatever as she was running onto the floor.
Has anybody ever used her video? I've seen so many different views of her getting knocked down. I wonder what her view looks like. And then right before that, I think it was prior, I can't blame Tulane for storming the court because they hadn't beaten a ranked team in 53 attempts. 1999, NC State was the last time Tulane had beaten a ranked team. That seems impossible, but it's true. They hadn't beaten a top 10 team since 1983.
Right.
So they went crazy. Okay. They did it right there, with the exception of one stupid kid that went up. And if you look at the video, and people are aghast at this, you took exception to it. I understand why. The kid really didn't do much. He just kind of tapped him on the shoulder. But when you lose a game, I'm surprised. Some guys, Dave Jones is a good kid, but some guys might have just gotten up and flattened that kid for touching him.
Yeah.
So that kid's lucky, really, that he didn't get creamed. But your point, and really with the Caitlin Clark, that could have been disaster. That could have been the best women's college basketball player in years, arguably ever, because she's going to be known as the greatest scorer of all time. She could have been knocked out for the year, for goodness sake.
Yeah, you were there when Kenyon Martin was just sending a simple screen, and his legs got hit the wrong way by an inch, a centimeter, whatever it was, and he broke his leg and did not play the rest of the year. Was fortunately able to go on and start his NBA career on time and had a great NBA career. But if Caitlin had gotten that inch of misfortune, she would have lost the opportunity to continue on toward perhaps a Big Ten championship, perhaps another Final Four, maybe even an NCAA championship. I'm not sure they're quite as good as, say, South Carolina is, but they beat them last year when they weren't quite as good, so you never know. And then she is eligible to return if she likes, but she also has the opportunity to be the number 1 overall pick in the WNBA draft. So all of that could have been gone if it was just like I said, it could be an inch, could be a millimeter. Who knows what would have had to happen for her to tear her ACL or break her leg in the way that Kenyon did. And look at what could have happened. And all because somebody's got to be on the floor to celebrate. Look, a lot of sports journalists aren't sports fans. And they like them, but maybe they don't go to games and stuff. A lot of people who do what I do for a living, they want to be away from sports when they're not working, which is fine, whatever you want to do. But I'm a fan, too. And I buy tickets to games. And I'm perfectly happy on those occasions when my team does great things to celebrate in the space that I bought. You can't take it away from me. You know, I've got my seat, and you have no right to take it away from me for the duration of the contest and the somewhat immediate aftermath. That's a perfectly good place to celebrate. I don't need to be out there. And the idea that, this is college kids having fun. Well, they don't storm at Allen Fieldhouse. They don't storm at Mackey Arena. Because they're on the other end of that. They don't storm at those places. And I will tell you, there is no better place to watch a game than Allen Fieldhouse. There is no better student crowd than the paint crew at Mackey Arena. They don't need to be on the floor to have an amazing time. And so the idea that you have to have this, and look, I'm in my 60s now, and so when I write about this, I get the get off my lawn treatment. But that's not what it's about. I am a sports fan too, and I am perfectly content to celebrate where I stand with the people around me, with the other fans in the stands. And if I need to take a viral video or whatever of myself, I can do that where I am. You don't have to be, as I said in the column, you don't have to be Jason Kelly leaning out of the boxer with no shirt and 295 pounds to go viral if you're clever enough and interesting enough.
Who told him to do that? That was the craziest.
No,
I mean,
I think Mr. Budweiser told him to do that. I don't know.
Maybe that was wild for sure. Just a few random thoughts on everything that you just said. One, I'll never forget Kenyon Martin because I was there. I was right by that baseline. When he went down, he was sitting right by the standard, and his eyes were glassy. They were in total shock, and so was Bob Huggins. And that was the first time I could ever remember the consequences being dropped the seed line, which was significant. And I'm really glad Kenyon Martin had a great career because he seemed like he was a pretty terrific guy, and that was one of the sadder moments that I have ever witnessed in person. Here's my sort of take on this is the first thing you have to do is you have to allow the opposition team to leave. That's got to be the first thing. If a kids want, and you're okay with letting them storm the court, and obviously that was the case at Ohio State, and obviously that was the case at Tulane because I saw them remove 2 chairs to make the space just a little bit bigger for them to come on safely. If you allow the opposition team to leave, then I'm okay with it. But I'm not okay with it if there's any chance of those kids getting hurt or your kids that are coming onto the court getting hurt from a team that's PO'd. So I think there has to be regulation.
The problem is that what you're saying is I want to regulate a mob. Yeah. That's what you're saying. It's not. There's a gap in logic there. Is it possible to storm the court safely? Yes, if your team wins by 15 points over the visitor that is ranked higher or whatever. How often does that happen? I mean, Roy Williams was criticized once. I think they were at Florida State, probably around the time when they were making consecutive championship games. I don't remember the exact time. He took his guys off the floor. It was like 2.5 seconds left. They were down like 9, whatever the score was. Like we don't have any 9-point plays. We're leaving. and you're going to run on the floor, and we're not going to get hurt. I had no problem with what Roy did then. But if it's a one-point game and it's contested to the final buzzer, there's no way to get the visiting team off safely. It can't happen.
Well, that's what happened in the Memphis game. You know, the kid had 2 looks to win the game, David Jones, and missed both shots. One when the final one was blocked. So, yeah, and then the buzzer went off, and then the kids went off, and I had my engineer protecting his equipment as the kids stormed by us.
Yeah.
So,
you know, I have been stormed over. It's not about me, and they don't sit us down there any longer for most arenas, so it's not a hazard for me any longer. When I'm at a game, we're usually tucked up a little bit higher, but I've had people go through me, and it's not pleasant. And I was at a game once in Conference USA when there was an older man in his late 70s who traveled with the Bearcats in the late 90s. And at one of the visiting arenas, their bench was a series of interlocking chairs. You've seen them, those folding chairs that interlock. And he was at the end, and the students came over the seats while the players were scrambling out, and they collapsed the entire thing of chairs on him. And he left the game with a separated shoulder. He's like, he's like 78, 79 years old, not in the greatest of health, and who knows what could have happened to him as a result of that. It's just not worth it. And again, when you're a paying customer, you have the right to celebrate in the stands. But we don't see this at professional football games, at NBA games, and all those sorts of things. And we don't need to see it in college for college to retain its extraordinary crowd atmosphere. And as I said, Allen or Cameron or Mackey or any of those others are examples of how wonderful it can be without any of that happening.
All right, last thing really quick. I wanted to talk to you about picking your brain about how you regulate NIL, because that's got to come sooner or later. We'll do that in the coming weeks. Last thing, you mentioned Caitlin Clark. She can come back for another year, right, because of COVID?
Right, yes.
Why wouldn't she? She's going to make a lot more money through NIL. I'll bet you $1 million plus, easy, over a WNBA salary. That's not even close.
But she can. But remember, she's already got national commercials, including you probably have seen one for State Farm that she does with Jenny Taft from Fox Sports and the Jake from State Farm guy. So she's already got national commercials. So she can make money off her name in the WNBA. I think that she can make enough doing that with the added exposure of the WNBA. And I think that at a certain point, for somebody of that level of ability, it's not like the NBA is not valuing me, so like Zach Edey. So let me go make a million or so at Purdue, and then maybe they'll figure out that I'm good. And apparently that's happened. From what the mock drafts are saying, that's happened. That Zach will be a first-round pick now. And then he made the money here instead of going to a G League two-way or whatever.
Right.
And so it works for him. But I think when you're as great as Caitlin, it's time to test yourself against the best. And I'm not saying that simply because the Indiana Fever have the number 1 overall pick, and it'd be nice to have her here in Indy.
Little conflict of interest here, Mr. DeCourcy.
I'm not saying that. But wherever she is, I will be watching. She is a heck of a show. She's a fabulous player.
She's incredible. I love her attitude, too, her whole personality. Thank you, Mr. DeCourcy. I appreciate it, and we'll do this again next week.
Sounds great.
You got it. That's Mike DeCourcy, our Hall of Famer from the Sporting News. You know he's brought to you by Memphis Tourism and the Memphis Sports Council. You know Memphis has a fast-paced, exciting sports scene for every fan, whether it's pro, semi-pro, amateur, youth, even those great college sporting events. Memphis checks the boxes for every sports fan. And each year, Memphis Tourism and that great sports council, they work to recruit sporting events and tournaments that fill local hotels, restaurants, and attractions with out-of-town athletes and all of the family and friends that come to see them compete. Look what we've got at Tiger Lane with that new event center. It's incredible. And the Memphis Sports Council helped generate 76,000 hotel rooms and an estimated economic economic impact of $75 million last year. Memphis Tourism and the Memphis Sports Council. That's a winning combination that brings you Mike DeCourcy every week. Jeff Moore in the house in just a minute on Wolo and Friends.
Start your day with Sports 56 Mornings with Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy. Weekday mornings from 7 to 10, right here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Hi, fellas. Bill Russell at Russell Brothers Fine Jewelers. And I want to thank all of you who came to see us at Russell Brothers so that Christmas would be very special for your lady. Thank you for the confidence and trust that so many of you have placed in Russell Brothers for over 38 years. And we're going to work even harder in 2024 to let you know how important you are. Whether you just need a $10 battery or a $10,000 diamond ring, you will receive the very best in beauty, quality, service, and value. Our exquisite gemstones, our fashionable designs, our huge array of fine jewelry will dazzle you and will help make you a hero when you want to let her know how very extraordinary she is. We invite you to come see us at Russell Brothers Jewelers, 4646 Poplar at Perkins, or visit us at russellbrothersfinejewelers.com. After all, doesn't she deserve the very best?
Don't miss out on limited-time appliance deals during the closeout event at Lowe's. Get up to 35% off select major appliances. Plus, save an extra $100 when you spend $999 or more on all major appliances. Hurry, these deals are too good to last long. Shop in-store or online today. Because Lowe's knows home improvement. Valid 1/4 through 1/24. Selection varies by location. While supplies last. See Lowes.com for details.
And now another no-brainer money-saving tip from Progressive.
Marcus, what happened?
I was changing my oil and I spilled some on the floor.
Oh, well, use these $50 bills to wipe it up.
Perfect. Got any more?
Yeah, take a couple hundred.
Stop. Instead of using money, use an old rag. And here's a better tip from Progressive on how not to waste money. Don't pay too much for car insurance. Drivers who switch and save could save hundreds. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states.
Let's make this the new year to drive your new Kia home from Gossett Kia on the Pike. Bobby J's waiting to put you in a new Kia today. So come hit the road with 41 MPG Highway and 2024 Kia Forte LXS, $239 a month, $27.99 due at signing. Or get 7 passenger seating in a 2023 Kia Sorento LX. We Gossett at $319 a month, $34.99 due at signing. And if you want your new ride to be a 2024 Kia Telluride LX, we Gossett at $449 a month, $34.99 due at signing. All 36-month lease plus Kia's 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain limited warranty. So get to Gossett Kia today, 1900 Covington Pike. Online, KiaCovingtonPike.com.
If you want it, we Gossett at Gossett Motor Cars.
All 650 acquisition fee. Forte RE722-812, MSRP 21,590. Sorrento PG 242-710, MSRP 33,010. Telluride RG 462822, MSRP 38,705. Includes all rebates and incentives. Must finance through Hyundai. Excludes tax, title, and license. See dealer for complete details. Offer valid through 1/31/2024 with approved credit. Dealer stock only.
Now back to Wolo and Friends on Sports 56, presented by Genesis of Olive Branch. Here once again is the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
Oh, yeah, we're down to the Final Four in the National Football League. Our guy, Jeff Moore, in to talk about all of that. And there is some breaking news in the NFL. It looks like the Tennessee Titans are very close to getting their replacement for Mike Vrabel. It's going to be Cincinnati offensive coordinator Brian Callahan. Is he the guy, or is the quarterback, Joe Burrow, the guy that makes that Cincinnati offense go? Apparently, the Titans believe Callahan's a big part of that. What's your take on that one?
I just need to see a sample size. I mean, he's a guy that does have good experience working with a great quarterback, but, you know, I agree with you. I think Joe Burrow is just an exceptional quarterback. And then they've had some exceptional receivers. So it'll be interesting to see. I just need to – I don't know that much about Coach Callahan.
Well, you got to wonder if he brings that offense, which does mean throwing the ball a lot. What does that do to the running game and the best running back that we've seen in the NFL the last 2 years, 3 years?
Yeah, I get the impression that Derrick Henry is not anticipating he's going to be there next year. So maybe, that they're going to go in with a whole new plan of attack offensively with this type of coach coming in. It'll be interesting to see. But, Derrick Henry would definitely make a difference if he was there.
I agree. Let's face it. Now, the running, which was important in the games this past weekend, running is still important, but let's face it. You've passed now to open up the running game. It used to be the opposite way.
It was, but the running is important because when all is said and done, I think it's offensive and defensive line play. And offensive lines like to be able to come off the ball and run as opposed to trying to catch the guy in pass blocking. So if you're winning in the trenches, I think you've got a much better chance to win the game in this day and age in our game.
I wonder when all these coaching dominoes are going to fall, too, because let's face it, you still have Belichick twice. He's interviewed in Atlanta. Everybody thinks that's happening. Harbaugh to the Chargers. I don't know because there's still Michigan that's hanging out there. When do you think a lot of this gets resolved? Here's the next little domino to fall.
Well, the beauty of it is probably Jimmy Sexton could tell us.
Oh, yeah, he could.
Because he's the one that's putting those deals together. But I would expect, especially as we get closer to the Super Bowl, that some of those decisions are going to be made because you got the combine coming up shortly, and you just got to get a staff in place.
All right, so Baltimore and San Francisco, the top seeds, they've made it through. You got Detroit, you got Kansas City. These are going to be great games. You're looking at, honestly, two unbelievable quarterbacks. I'll throw Goff in a little bit there. The one, Brock Purdy, would be the fourth-rated quarterback probably, but he just had his first comeback win, I think, and he's been pretty steady. The one game, Baltimore dominated the second half against the Texans. They sure look like they're the best team out there to win the Super Bowl, don't you think?
I do, because they're just playing well on both sides of the ball, and they've been playing well through the end of the season. Lamar Jackson is just an X factor that keeps defensive coordinators up at night. And their defense shut out. The way they were able to shut out C.J. Stroud and that offense of the Texans in the second half was pretty impressive. I think they're just playing confidently. They're going to be at home, but they're going to be playing against the best quarterback I think ultimately we're going to see in the history of our game. It's 6 straight AFC championship. I mean games.
Yeah.
And he was so steady. I mean, whenever Buffalo got a lead, Patrick Mahomes just got up and started tossing the ball, and just he was fantastic. I mean, both quarterbacks I thought were great.
Do you think he has a chance actually to be the GOAT?
I do. With
Tom Brady that just having retired and I think he's supposed to be in the Fox booth next year, but you got to win. How many do you have? 6?
You do, and he's got a long way to go. But I mean, he and Kelsey have already tied Tom Brady.
No,
and
they passed him. Their 16 was passing Gronk and Brady, and you know who was third was Montana and Rice.
Right. So that record has stood for a while, and these guys, are just on a torrid pace. But chips are the name of the game, and that's a good point. I mean, if he can get anywhere near that, but I mean. That's team. When you look at the teams and how they played, I mean, when you look at your skill set, I mean, people that looked at Mahomes and Brady, there's a difference. I mean, this guy runs, throws, he can do it all. And Brady was just a great thinker and read defense as well and could stand in the pocket. But, I mean, he couldn't run at all.
He did not have the dimension of escapability and running the way that Mahomes does. I agree with you. I think it's open for debate in the end, but there's a lot of championships that have to be won. Yeah. But 6 straight AFC title games is pretty special. San Francisco, they're a close one in the rain. I think the rain hampered everybody. The Packers are going to be really good. Jordan Love made a terrible mistake at the end of the game when he threw that ball up for grabs like he did.
Yeah.
But this was big for, I think, Brock Purdy, because his knock was he's a great front runner, can't come from behind. Well, he did in this game.
He did in this game, but he didn't play well. I mean, and this was a big game, and they needed him to play well. Yeah, I'm glad he came through in the end. He's demonstrated, particularly when there's adverse weather conditions, which Patrick Mahomes and a lot of great quarterbacks have to play in. He's not. I mean, he's very average when it comes to playing so far. And of course, he's going to be tested this weekend. I like this Detroit's defense. They're going to come after him. So we'll see. I mean, I think in that game, I like the way Jared Goff is playing. I think he's playing better than Brock Purdy by far. Playing with a lot of confidence. He's gotten rid of the interceptions and the bad decisions that go with that. And their running game is you better stop them running the football. And if you don't, they can go score from all over the field with the young running backs that they have. So I don't know. I'm starting to really like Detroit in this game to pull the upset. I really am.
I would not be shocked. And they wore down Tampa. But by the way, Baker Mayfield, you give him a long-term contract like the Bucs appear to be doing?
You do. I mean, this guy, nobody thought he could come in and do what he's done with the Bucs this year. And he's been steady. And he demonstrated this past weekend in one of the biggest stages of his career. He was just spot on. I mean, whenever they got behind, he just was very steady. Delivering great passes, and it helps that you've got a Hall of Famer in Mike Evans to throw the ball to. But I thought he played just fantastic, which is one of the concerns I have for Detroit. Is now 3 games in a row now. Their secondary is giving up over 300 yards passing. That could be a problem if Brock Purdy can get on.
Well, let's go to that game. San Francisco is a 6.5-point favorite. It is at home. I haven't seen a weather report.
Yeah.
But if David Montgomery can run the football to keep San Francisco off of that, and I forget who their other running back is. They have two backs that can put up some yardage.
Yeah.
I think they have a chance. Goff has played in big games before. There's no question about it. Detroit was a team that was very effective. Even in Dallas, they should have won that game with the trick play that
sure did.
Campbell had. Campbell's a great coach. There's no question about it.
Yeah.
I think that line is pretty big. But San Francisco has been a dominating team, and their defense has been pretty darn good.
They have, and so I think as I look at the teams that could have been there, I first of all, I like the grit of the Detroit Lions. They are physical. When you finish playing them for 4 quarters, you're going to be in some hurt. They run the ball well, and then Sam Laporta, their tight end, is an all-pro. Goff is playing great. They're playing with house money. Nobody expected them to be there. All the cards are there. It would be historic for their franchise. And San Francisco, to me, I was surprised to see the Green Bay kind of play them the way they did. I expected them to play better against Green Bay, and they struggled. I know the weather was a factor, but the weather is going to be a factor in a lot of these big games in this time of year.
Green Bay, man, they're young. They're going to be good for a while, I'm afraid. That is for sure. So are you picking Detroit?
I'm going to pick Detroit,
You're picking Detroit for the upset.
I'm picking.
All right, and then Kansas City. You know what? I felt so bad for Buffalo. You couldn't ask much more of Josh Allen. Both those quarterbacks. And the offenses were pretty darn efficient. It was a great game to watch, and it's just amazing to me what the legacy with Buffalo is. I don't care which generation.
Wow.
Wide right is part of the legacy.
Man, so sad for the Buffalo Bills fans, but Josh Allen was spectacular. I thought that team on both sides of the ball, because they had a lot of guys hurt on defense. Their linebacking core, for the most part, was just banged up. And yet they weren't expected. 5 weeks ago, we didn't expect them to even be in the playoffs. They played great. It's just so unfortunate that kicker missed, and man, I feel for him. But they were playing against a team that's the best offensive performance that the Chiefs have had probably since the first of the year.
Well, certainly the best for the tight end, Kelsey.
Yeah.
So we're just talking about could be the greatest of all time in Mahomes up against the best this year. I don't think there's any doubt that Lamar Jackson is going to be the MVP. I'd vote for him as the MVP.
Yeah.
4 touchdowns in that game in the divisional round. This one is so tough. Baltimore by 3.5. I think whoever wins the game wins the Super Bowl, personally. I think the AFC is better.
Right. I agree with you. I think the AFC is playing better so far in the playoffs. And this is going to be a great test for Lamar, the best opportunity that he's had in his career to really get in there and have an opportunity to play for a championship. And I think they've got all the way. I mean, their defense is fantastic. They led the league in sacks. I think they're going to get a lot of pressure on Patrick Mahomes. I expected Buffalo to put more pressure. I mean, you can't give him time. So I think Baltimore figured that out. They've got great special teams. They're not going to miss kicks. I like Baltimore at home in this game, and it's a game that it's so appropriate because they're the champions. I mean, if you want to be the champion, you got to beat the champion. So I love the way this is going to lay out, and I really like Baltimore's chances.
All right, so you got Baltimore and you got Detroit, and we'll see if you're right. We'll talk about it next Tuesday.
Look forward to it.
Thank you. That is Jeff Moore. Jeff brought to you by Ken Garland, Custom Home Builders. Ken knows. All right, you're making a major commitment. You're building that dream home, or you're maybe remodeling, renovation with innovation, all the new amenities. You want the video room with the wall speakers, you want the California closets, you want the island in the kitchen. They do it all. Ken knows how to bring all the modern amenities into an older home. He can do everything. If you need land, he's got it. If you're not sure how to utilize land, maybe it's been in your family for a while, Ken's the perfect guy to talk to. He sees little details and big picture all at once, and he's fun to just chat with. 751-1632, that's the number. Go see what I'm talking about first. Go to kengarland.com, then get a consultation. He'll guarantee this: quality construction, on time, on budget. 2 generations they've been doing it at Ken Garland, Custom Home Builders. We'll pause for a second, and then we'll come back. We got a couple other tidbits, including the Aussie Open. Down under with the first major tennis tournament of the year. Give you an update on that in just a minute.
We are real sports talk. Sports 56 WHBQ. Available on your radio dial at 560 AM and 98.5 FM, as well as around the world online at sports56whbq.com. Take us with you everywhere by downloading the Sports 56 app. And at home, just say, Alexa, play Sports 56. Wherever you are, stay tuned in to Real Sports Talk. Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Is your home still not warm enough or running out of hot water? Hi, this is Lauren Choate with Choate's Air Conditioning, Heating, and Plumbing, and we've got exciting news for you. Introducing Choate's Carrier Repair Buyback Program. If you've had HVAC or water heater repairs in the past year, you're in luck. Choate's will credit your repair costs up to $1,500 with a brand new HVAC or tankless water heater system. Yep, you heard right. Just bring your repair invoice from the last 365 days and get ready to upgrade your home's comfort. Say goodbye to those chilly nights and inconsistent heating. Choate's has you covered with various low-payment financing plans, making your upgrade more affordable than ever. Imagine a more efficient and reliable system keeping your family cozy all winter long. And here's the best part. This offer is a substantial boost towards a state-of-the-art heating solution. Ready to take the next step? Schedule your free estimate by calling 347-8086. And remember, turn to the experts with Choate's and let our family serve your family.
At Gossett Mitsubishi on the Pike, new inventory is arriving daily, and we've got what you've been looking for to start the new year off right. Get off to a great year in your award-winning 2024 Mitsubishi Outlander, $329 a month, or buy it for $29,910. Take a spin in your new 2024 Mitsubishi Eclipse Cross, $29,445, or lease for $449 a month. How about 2023 Mitsubishi Outlander PHEV, 420 total range MPGe? You own it for $649 a month. Plus, no worries with Mitsubishi's 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain limited warranty. You want it? We Gossett at Gossett Mitsubishi, 1870 Covington Pike, or online anytime, memphismitsubishi.com.
If you want it, we Gossett at Gossett Motor Cars.
PHEV PZO 62303 MSRP 44,355. Sport RU 001136 MSRP 28,000. Eclipse RZO 12051 MSRP 31,700. Includes all rebates and incentives. PF 695. Excludes tax title and license with approved credit. See dealer for complete details. Offer valid through end of the month. Dealer stock only.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now.
800-583-5795.
Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. There is zero risk to you. If we can't reduce your tax debt, then you pay nothing. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have a 5-star rating on Google and Yelp and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com
or call 800-583-5795. That's 800-583-5795.
Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
What's wrong? You look bereft.
I am bereft.
What is it?
Well, there's only 3 Central Barbecue locations. The original Central Barbecue on Central, it's closed.
Oh, don't worry, little buckaroo. The location on Central will be back before you know it and better than ever.
But
now, there's still the location on Summer. You love that one, right?
Yeah.
And there's still the Central Barbecue downtown and the Central Barbecue on Poplar. You love those too, right?
I do love those.
So you could go to those, and then when Central Barbecue on Central reopens, it'll be like Christmas, but with pork.
I feel better already.
Now back to Wolo and Friends on Sports 56. Presented by Genesis of Olive Branch. Here once again is the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
This news just coming out before we take a look at what's going on down under in the first Slam tournament of the year in Australia. Somebody explain this stuff to me, honestly. I'm always amazed. I consider Jerry Lawler a pretty good friend. And he used to be a part of this program. WWE's flagship weekly program called Raw. All right? It will now stream beginning next January, so a year from now. It's going to stream on Netflix. Have you seen this story, Zach Boyd?
I have.
This is like the most amazing thing to me. The deal announced today is worth more than $5 billion over 10 years. So that's basically $500 million a year. $5 billion for this on Netflix. Holy cow! Raw originated on USA Network in '93. Jerry had been working on that one. Unfortunately, Jerry, I think, is retiring now from his on-screen television duties with WWE. It was on TNN in 2000, started USA, returned to USA in 2005. It's been a 3-hour program since 12. SmackDown, which is broadcast on Fox on Friday nights, is going to shift to USA in October, part of another deal. It's a 5-year deal worth $1.4 billion. You look at those two programs, okay? $6.4 billion over 10 years. $640 million a year just for those two TV programs. And that has nothing to do with their pay-per-view fights, right? Or the gates when they have these WrestleManias, which I think somebody was telling me that when Nashville was trying to procure funds to do the dome they're going to have there, which is going to help change that city, seriously, make it even bigger, is that they're going to get a Super Bowl because of it, and they're going to get 2 or 3 of these WrestleManias. Like, that's a big deal. Gosh, for wrestling? I mean, I hate to say this, but I outgrew wrestling when I was like 9 years old. People are into it,
man. People still love it. People still love it.
It's the nuttiest thing.
And to be honest with you, I think this is only the start of sports events starting to be put on streaming platforms.
Oh, yeah.
It's only the start.
Oh, sure. Absolutely. We talked about this earlier. Was it last week?
Yeah.
How much will you pay for streaming sports? Because everything's going to be a la carte, and you're going to pay for everything. So if you figure out a budget, okay. I can tell you how much exactly I'm paying for cable and with internet and landline right now. I mean, it's absurd. So but I'll go to that budget, right? If I cut Xfinity and I go a different route, I know what my budget should go up to. And that's just the way we're going to be doing it, I guess, from now on. All right, real quick, at the Australian Open, Novak Djokovic makes his 11th semi. He's never been beaten. It was a long match, but only 3 sets, and he took down Taylor Fritz. I know Taylor Fritz was in the last final of the tennis tournament here at the old Racket Club, which was the FedEx St. Jude Tennis Classic, I believe. In its last iteration. And Fritz was in the final. I think he won the final. I think he won the last tournament. He's never really kind of lived up to the advanced billing. Now he's up there. So he's never going to get to the stage he had hoped. But he got knocked out, and it's Joker who never has lost in a semi. So you got to figure he is the favorite. And Coco Gauff won her quarterfinal. So she now meets the defending champion, which is Aryna Sabalenka, in the semis. Sabalenka is the young lady she beat in the U.S. Open last year to win her first major. So she's probably the favorite in that. We hope so. Pulling for Coco. She's the new American hope. Anyway.
Give you something to cheer for.
Yeah. Pulling for Coco. I don't know if I'm pulling for Joker. Joker's already the greatest of all time in terms of majors won. He can only keep adding to it. So, anyway, that's what's going down under. You can watch. I've been watching a bunch of it. Have you watched any of the ESPN coverage of the Australian?
I haven't.
You've been too busy watching wrestling. That's why.
I've been too busy keeping up with what's going to happen on the court. That's what.
With the Grizzlies?
With the Grizzlies and the Tigers.
Yeah, there you go. All right. That'll do it for us. This final portion of the show brought to you by Southern Security. We're so proud to have a company like this as part of our business partners, really. You talk about Dawn Grader. She's the CEO. She keeps growing this company, and they've been around for 70 years. How many companies have we got that have been around such a long time with so much credibility? And they've really helped out our community. And honestly, Southern Security is your home team credit union. They love the Tigers, big sponsors of the Memphis Athletic Department. And look, if you're a businessman, they've been serving the Mid-South, helping guys like you with unbeatable rates, low fees, the best of service, and the newest technology for all those 70 years. If you're a business owner, if you need an auto loan, Southern Security is there for you with the best benefits for credit cards, best benefits for loans, anything you need. The lowest competitive rates, they're there for you. All you got to do is either go to southernsecurity.org or they actually encourage you to call 901-452-7900. Who does that now? Talk on the phone? They do. They're your home team credit union for 70 years. Do your banking with Southern Security. That'll do it for us. We'll see you tomorrow morning. Johnny Radio is next. Have a great day, everybody.